right, thank you everybody for taking a chance to join us today. We'll be getting started with our third and final webinar in this series around connecting with influencers. Just a couple of minutes past the hour, as we normally do. Folks will be coming from other meetings, grabbing some coffee or some water. So we'll get started at just 2 minutes past. Let more people come in today. So enjoy some of the music while we wait, but we'll get started in just under 2 minutes. All right, a couple of minutes past the hour, and we're getting folks that will continue to join today. But I wanted to thank everybody for coming to our third of 3 webinar in this series around influencer recruiting, connecting with influencers in 2023. My name is Ryan Hilliard. I am the GM of North America here at Hype Auditor. I've been leading the past few of these. Today will be a little bit different than what we've done in the past, in the sense that we'll be focusing more on inbound as a channel, brand ambassador and affiliates and sponsorship programs, versus just purely outbound. But just a couple of housekeeping things, as we always cover at the very beginning. The first is, feel free to leave any questions or comments in the chat as we're going. This webinar will also be recorded, and the live stream will be uploaded to YouTube. So we'll be sending out a link following the webinar, so you can watch it again on Friday night with all of your family and popcorn and pizza, or you can send it along to your colleagues to watch or reference in the future. And so with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So I always like to do a recap, especially if it's a primer for this third webinar. So the first 2 webinars that we had were really geared towards going out and recruiting creators and influencers that align with what we are trying to do. So we talked about why it's important to build this recruitment engine, how critical it can be when you think about holiday periods to have an active bench of influencers that you're ready to work with. We talked about the influencer recruitment funnel and how you can have drop off at every single stage. We dove into crafting compelling messages, and last week, or 2 weeks ago, we talked about how to construct a compelling offer, something that leaves you being ghosted less often by influencers, knowing that it's going to happen, right? It's a sales process. There's going to be this drop off, but how can we really optimize things? And I encourage folks to go back and watch those live streams. They're on our YouTube channel. You can always reference that in the future as well. That content is really pretty evergreen, in the sense of, like, it's always pretty reliable. We'll actually be needing a lot of that as you think about the inbound recruitment process. So this is a big shift, right? A lot of what we were talking about before is these one-off situations where you're going out, you're finding a creator that will be a pretty big strategic partnership. It puts a lot of effort on your plate in terms of finding them, doing that sales effort. Now we're turning the tables a little bit. We're going to take all of what we've learned about constructing offers and those approaches, but we're going to be talking about how do we get people to come to us as a brand, or if you're an agency representing a brand, how do you drive inbound interest from influencers that will help broaden your reach as a brand, drive a really, really cost-effective ROI. So just as a brief agenda, and actually today will be a bit shorter than our other webinars have been in terms of the content length, but we'll be diving into the different types of inbound programs. Funny enough, they all have distinct names, but they're all sort of the same thing as well, depending on what article or website you reference. We'll be talking about building compelling inbound offer pages, landing pages, sort of static pages that are all meant for lead gen. And we'll actually be going through examples of landing pages that are effective, programs that are effective, what they're actually seeing, where they could actually be improving. And that will be it for this series. So just to start as a preface here, right, if you're thinking about driving inbound influencer interest, one thing that I like to remind folks is when you're thinking about inbound, it's going to be much more leaning towards the smaller size, right? Because there's no control really of the people that are requesting, submitting these forms. You can put different thresholds and prerequisites in there, but really it's going to be distributed amongst sort of what influencers look like in the real world, which is mostly smaller and then some larger ones. But if you're thinking about this as a channel of how can I get folks with millions of followers to just come to me and beg to promote my product, that's not what this channel really would be. That's going to be more outbound when you're being very, very deliberate about who you want to focus on. Inbound is just going to be a mix of those smaller folks. Maybe you can get to some more macro size, a few 100,000 followers, but definitely going to be geared more towards that smaller scaled initiative. So there's three types of inbound programs we'll be talking about today with subtle differences. And I think it's okay, generally speaking, that you just intermingle this whole idea, that they're really all sort of the same in terms of what the net result is, driving a volume of smaller partnerships. But just to dive a little bit deeper here, brand ambassador programs, when you hear people reference those, the way that we tend to think about it is these are sort of like affiliate relationships, but it's really emphasizing brand alignment and community. We want these people to really represent us, whereas affiliate relationships tend to be much more commercial. Sometimes affiliate can mean purely on a content site, drop a link. It could be arbitrage, buying ad space and selling through on a landing page, or it could be a partnership with an influencer that is only earning money on commission, and they're just dropping your product in periodically. All of those things are sort of affiliate, but the point of emphasis is less alignment with the brand and more on the commercial setting, just drive me sales. And then we have sponsorship programs, which I would say are the way that we tend to think about them are more graduated ambassadors or affiliates, where you're taking more of a traditional influencer marketing relationship with them. You're talking about doing sponsored posts. They might be getting set fees and commissions, but there's somebody that's really, really aligned that you've kind of graduated through brand ambassador or affiliates. So when you're thinking about building a brand ambassador program, and this also applies a little bit to affiliate programs, is you want to be thinking about this a lot like the content building and optimization process for SEO. It is a teeny tiny little snowball that you're going to be pushing down the hill, and it's going to look like it's not getting any bigger until suddenly it just takes off on its own. But there's a lot of effort that goes into building ambassador programs. It's not something you can simply just say, we have one, people will just be nurtured on their own, they just want to join. It doesn't work that way. It's something that you really have to put a lot of effort into as a brand to build up this community, to build up the reason for them to join and stay engaged and continue to promote. But the payoff can be tremendous. We'll talk about some of the examples later today, but brands like Cuts or Solo Stuff just sort of have built their whole business off of these brand ambassadors and scaled up drastically without having to invest as much into direct response paid advertising, but more so leaning on the sort of visual elements and cues and the alignment with a creator's voice, right? Those are things that you put time into and then you can reap rewards in the future. Affiliate programs typically are going to require a scaled initiative. So if you've ever, like myself, have worked with Impact or Commission Junction, right? you understand like the value in affiliate is finding thousands of affiliates or hundreds of affiliates that promote your product. You might have an 80-20 rule, you probably will, of the ones that drive the most revenue for you, but it's really about amassing a lot of reach. And so if you're scaling up an affiliate program, you just choose one, it's not going to look like a huge contributing channel. This is something you really have to be looking in a lot of places to find those relationships. There are sort of designated platforms for affiliate relationships where large brands, large content publishers will use them as well. And so that can be the link that you go there. It becomes less about the brand alignment, less pure influencer and more traditional. But there is a lot of that commission-based only relationship that can happen as influencers are trying to earn money. They sign up for programs and promote products to be able to drive some revenue for themselves. It takes a lot of time to really get it scaled up. Now, some of these tools will make it easy for you to list your affiliate program, get a lot of inbounds, but you're going to have to sort of sift through that in terms of the value for you as a brand. Not as much out-of-pocket expense, which is great. Even the amount of time committed to managing it can be a little bit less because you're not enforcing brand guidelines. You're not really thinking about this as marketing content. It's just a revenue driver. And then the last one is these sponsorship programs where you're taking brand ambassadors, people that are really, really aligned with you, and moving them to the next level, right? Ideally, they came inbound and you sort of fostered them over time into something that it's almost a more, they're almost like a sponsored athlete, right? If you're thinking about something like Gymshark, where you're working with them based off the content that they're producing and they're regularly driving revenue and value for your brand. These can take a little bit less of an investment of time when you think about them individually, but it does take a lot of sort of watering and weeding and managing, cultivating over time before somebody really does graduate to that level of being valuable for your brand. But in this case, each individual is driving as much value as maybe 10 or 20% of all of your brand ambassadors. That's how much impact that they're carrying. So those are the three. Now we're going to dive into some components of driving inbound influencers. The most important thing that we're going to be talking about here is recruitment landing pages. So use all of the information that we talked about last time around constructing a compelling offer, being very, very specific with what's included, what's involved, any sort of requisites. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but use that information, follow-ups messaging. If you're going to do email outreach to your existing customer base to try to potentially recruit them inbound to become brand ambassadors, you would be thinking about those concepts. Whereas for purely inbound, you just want to be really thinking about landing pages. And it's going to feel much more like a CRO exercise for marketers than really anything else. So we'll be talking about how you build essentially these lead gen landing pages and optimize them to convert. So one thing that we highly recommend, and this is just a great way to reduce noise, is ensuring that these people that are coming inbound are a valuable fit for your program. Are they essentially worth the time? Because if you're doing a brand ambassador relationship, you're going to be wanting to vet their content, evaluate if their audience is authentic. There's a whole lot of effort really involved in qualifying an individual. And so that individual needs to be able to drive some amount of revenue. And so ensuring that they have a level of followers where the conversion rate makes sense, that they can see real revenue. If they're really, really small, it just might not be valuable in terms of the time because there's so many of them. So publishing those requisites also sort of sets expectations for the creators themselves. If they have 800 followers and they submit, but you have, like in this example, 1,000 followers, you're posting this regularly, you're already using our hashtags. And if they're not doing it, then they don't expect you to reply back either. And that frees up your time so you can focus on the folks that do meet those initiatives. One thing I would recommend when possible is to use a form for collecting this information so that you can put these people into a logic. Okay, you don't meet these thresholds, so I'm going to pull you out of a sequence, or I'm going to put you in a sequence that says right now we're not accepting influencers without meeting these qualifications, but thanks for your interest. Just doing it text here is sort of a missed opportunity because you kind of have to sift through the influencers themselves and their profiles themselves. So use forms when you're publishing these requisites to get that information, collect where their handles are so that you can make it a little bit easier to sift through. Another important thing, and people need to see this on the landing page, is providing resources and suggestions why you have this program and how you are there to support these influencers, what your mission is. Those types of things really resonate with people as they're looking at programs in terms of driving conversion rate. So make it about you as the brand, especially if it's a brand ambassador program. If it's an affiliate program, it matters a little bit less. It's really going to be much more around what are the payouts. Here's a progressive commission schedule if you're really able to drive revenue for us. But if you're doing brand ambassadors, if you're looking to graduate people into sponsorships, highlighting mission, highlighting imagery that you think is effective, that you've seen to be effective historically, encouraging them to use their personal voice to drive value, highlighting, when people are seeing the highest conversion rates, that type of thing is really, really valuable for driving a submission for an inbound influencer, because they can kind of see what success would look like and determine, is this the kind of brand that I would align with? Highlighting a progressive journey. One of the things that's really important for brand ambassador programs that I saw in my last role, and the same goes for even affiliate programs, is understanding what is the value of me joining, right? Beyond just getting free stuff, beyond earning a commission, brand ambassadors really like to be recognized by these brands. They like that relationship. There's almost more value there than just purely an income for them. They like that association. And so highlighting, if you're a brand ambassador, you're going to get this sort of VIP access to products. You're going to get the benefit to give us feedback on our mobile app, whatever it might be. Those types of things that are exclusive to them are a great way to drive a higher conversion rate. If you don't include this information, but you have it, you're really missing the boat. And if you don't have any sort of benefit of being a brand ambassador, except you might pay them commission on orders, then it's really just an affiliate program, and you need to kind of change that approach. If you are thinking about affiliates, if that's the approach that you want to take, you want to really focus on just the sales, highlight how they can earn more commission over time, right? What is the sort of spiff for really pushing this content? Because you want to create a scenario where both parties are winning, the more both parties are pushing, right? You want the influencer, the creator, to think, if I invest more time in here, there is a bigger payoff for me. And so there's more value to be had. And so those are things really important to think about that really will impact conversion rate, and surprisingly aren't included in a lot of brand ambassador programs or inbound influencer recruitment programs. It's just a missed opportunity. Now, as you think about operationalizing these hundreds or thousands of creators, how do we make this some sort of cohesive initiative? One of the things that we recommend and that we've seen most effective is when you centralize and simplify the use of hashtags. So that we're going to talk through two different types of hashtags here, branded and non-branded, and they both serve a distinct purpose. So for branded hashtags, the goal here really is to align the brand, right? If you have a brand whose imagery or value proposition is very, very compelling for the buyer, right? So Love Every does really, really clever kids gifts. I've got so many in my house that my wife has purchased, and she loves all of their stuff. And so making it very, very simple to see more posts and content around this thing that I really, really care about, that is branded, that is all about me as a brand, is a great way to expose people that are pretty interested to more and more content, which allows me more chances for a higher conversion rate when I am exposing to these users. And so really concentrating it, telling creators, we use this hashtag and this hashtag. These are the two things that represent our brand. Maybe it's a branded hashtag, maybe it's Love Every Gift. These are the two things that we want you to focus on, so that we're pulling everything together. And then we as a brand can use a tool like Hype Auditor and our hashtag analysis, where we can compile what is the history of this usage over time across the market. How is this changing? How is our reach changing? We want to make this something that's measurable, because there's a lot of time and effort put into this. And so how can we measure it? That's a great way to do it, is making sure that you're centralizing the use of hashtags. If you're going to do things for campaigns, one thing I would know is make sure it's a long-term campaign. Don't do a 24-hour or 48-hour campaign and then sort of drop the usage. You don't realize that branded value. So just a little thing there. Make sure it's something that's sort of core to your brand. For non-branded hashtags, and this is sort of a personal story as well, you want to focus on concepts that align with where you want to be if people were searching, if your right audience was searching for things that were relevant to them, right? So for Love Every, right, I have the example here, using the hashtag Montessori, right? Parents that love Montessori gifts, wooden or wooden toys, things like that, they might just do those searches on TikTok or on Instagram because they like that type of content. And so this is a way for those relevant Love Every branded posts and sponsorship posts to be referenced there as well. It also creates this alignment, like this is the type of product that we're promoting. And so there's a lot of really good value there. What you want to avoid, though, are overly complicated non-branded hashtags with the goal of maybe this will become its own thing, right? So at my last company, we decided we'll come up with our own hashtag for our mobile app that incorporated words and numbers. And if you read all of our content, yeah, it would make a lot of sense to you. But at first glance, it was actually quite difficult to decipher what it actually said. And because it was a little bit complicated with combinations of words and letters, and I think it was 6 words, no one else used it. So it was only used by us, the brand, whenever we would put content out. So it really served no value or purpose at all, but it was just sort of stuffed everywhere in the things that we would release on our websites. And so just make sure that you're doing it simple. You want to align with the market that you want to reach. And so that's how you want to treat sort of non-branded hashtags. Also think of inbound programs as ways to get reviews, to get marketing content, drive more social proof. This is something St. Martin's publishing group does really, really well. They send out books to people to give honest reviews of the book, right? Usually it's an early copy of the book before it's even been fully edited or released. And it's a great way to drive marketing content that you can use later, right? It also might be a great way to understand what is the response of the market to this thing. What do we need to change? But encouraging those honest reviews, there's a lot of multifaceted value there you can incorporate across social media, that you can incorporate across ads. And it's not just like, it's a really efficient return on investment for sending out a book, right? I'm not having to think about paying for people to do these things and making it's sort of ahead of that really, really cost-effective way and multifaceted value. The other thing that you can do is you can use these brand ambassador programs as feeders to those sponsorship opportunities. Find those brand ambassadors or those affiliates that drive a greater percentage of value than they represent, and find a way to reward them even more so, or do true sponsored partnerships with them, because leveraging them that way allows you to take full value of their audience, right? If they're part of your brand ambassador program, they might be, doing a post here or there. There might be some value that you're unlocking. You might be seeing some revenue, but by becoming a sponsored sort of athlete or a sponsored individual, somebody that you're really aligned with, you're going to tap much more potential. And then that longer term relationship is going to reap more dividends. Now, the cool thing by graduating from affiliates or brand ambassadors is you've got these people that historically are pretty conversion oriented. They're thinking about driving commissions, driving value, driving engagement. And so that graduation is just less risk for you as a brand, or for you as an agency representing a brand, because you're partnering with somebody that historically has done a great job. I'm not shifting from no money to $10,000 with a person that I hope will be effective, right? It's, hey, each month this person tends to do this. This has been great. Let's do something much bigger, right? And so that's a really, really awesome opportunity there. We're nearing the tail end of our content here. One of the things that's really, really important, especially when you're thinking about the amount of time and effort that goes into maintaining these inbound programs, these brand ambassador or affiliate programs, you have to measure some value for the investment. We are investing hours and hours in monitoring creative and vetting different influencers, putting out content, sending out products, scanning for the posts. We need to see some revenue, some website visits, some people falling into funnels for emails, something, right? And so making sure that that is a critical part of the initiative. using tracking links, using discount codes, sending out URLs with parameters so that you can track them, whether you're using something like Google Analytics or Adobe or your backend or CRM, right? Being able to get that visibility is really, really important, because after you've launched a brand ambassador program, or if you have a lot of dedicated resources, especially in a sort of economic situation that we're in right now, eventually the eyes will say, like, so what are we getting out of this? What is it doing? And so you need to be able to quickly point to, like, here's what we're getting in terms of website traffic. This is the percentage of people that are converting into actual customers. This is the percentage that are falling into our newsletter funnel, and we know that we convert these folks. Here's the number of new followers that we're getting, and here's the conversion rate that we get from earned social. All of that is really, really valuable in terms of measuring the full value of these relationships. And again, it's really, really critical because there is a lot of time that goes involved here. So we've dove into the different types of inbound programs, whether they're brand ambassador programs, affiliate programs, or true sponsorships. We've talked about the components really of designing good landing pages, designing good offers, things that are really important to keep in mind for operationalizing. Now we're going to actually talk about just some landing page examples and breaking down what brands are doing well, where they're missing the boat, right? And so I think that I tried to pull brands that were recognizable, at least for me. If you're a mid-30s father that enjoys playing golf, or you married with kids, you'll see these brands that are probably would resonate with you as well. Maybe not one though. So Primo Golf is a direct-to-consumer apparel company. One of the things I wanted to call out here, this is their I want to be a brand ambassador. This is really an affiliate sign-up page. It is, you're going to produce sales for us. Here are the requirements. Here's payment information. Choose your discount code and let's just go, right? They're prioritizing conversion rate over brand, which has its pros and its cons, right? If you're thinking about brand ambassadors, this is certainly not leaning that way, even though they're calling it that. But I think one of the things that they really do well is they're calling out the concise terms. Here's what's involved, even cookie days and durations, commission types, when they pay out, requisites. If you want to be involved, you have to have this many followers on this many networks. You have to be posting this type of content. And so I think they do a really, really tremendous job of driving direct response, because they're removing a lot of the fluff, and they're showing you this is what our priority is. It's driving more sales. Now here's a golf brand on the complete opposite end, right? So Bad Birdie also sells golf apparel direct to consumer. The look and feel of this slide is just very, very much feels like a web page, just a landing page, right? If we were to look at the very, very top, imagery that aligns just with their website everywhere. It very much underlines this is the type of visuals and the expectations we have for brand ambassadors. They have a detailed story about like why our brand is unique. They manage expectations a little bit in terms of like, we will accept you or we won't. We'll let you know if you are. But I think the thing that they're missing here, and even if you clicked all of these apply now or learn more buttons, is there aren't any specifics from what you get out of it. So as an influencer, what I see here is like, you've got lots of hurdles, and unless I'm really, really aligned with what you're already producing, this is gonna be much harder for me to break into than maybe over here. And so maybe I'm more inclined to stick with Primo versus sticking with Bad Birdie. So missed opportunity is providing more information around like what it looks like to get into the program. Now, why they might be doing this, it could be they're trying to manage the number of folks that they're trying to get in. Maybe they have too much volume. And so adding things that will drive up conversion rate, if they're sort of at capacity already, unless somebody's really, really special, sure, you can always pull that information out. But we would always recommend, you want to give those details of why you would join the brand ambassador program, what you get out of it on the landing page where you're doing the recruiting. Don't just expect people to fall over for you for any brand, because there's other options out there. So this is the one that has no relevance to me whatsoever, but this is Bumble. The Bumble is really well known for having a tremendous brand ambassador program. And so I thought we have to call out what they're doing on their landing page, because if you search most effective brand ambassador programs, Bumble is like the one listed on every list. So let's just break down a little bit what's going on. So very much feels like a branded website, right? It is just living on their website, but the same structure as everything else that they're doing. Heavy on imagery, heavy on the types of images that they like, heavy on the value for you as becoming a member of their brand ambassador program. Now, a couple of things that they are missing, very, very little detail. Now, Bubble's a large brand, so maybe that's part of the reason. But they also bury their call to action well below the fold. If you're thinking about conversion rate optimization in general, especially if we're recruiting for these programs, the action you want people to take needs to be at the very, very top of the page. We need to make it very, very simple for people to take action, not image, text, paragraph, image. Now find the button, right? That's too much work. And so that's the one thing I think that they're missing here, but really highlighting the why, highlighting the value to becoming part of this program, I think is really, really great. And again, they're sort of known for having a tremendous program out there. And I thought we had a fourth one, but I guess we didn't. The one thing that I want folks to take away from here as we're wrapping up the webinar today is these relationships, brand ambassador relationships, sponsorship relationships, things where you're really finding that alignment, whether it's outbound or inbound as well, like thinking back to the other webinars that we had, when you're thinking about recruiting folks and reaching out to folks. These do take some time, but they're going to pay even greater dividends than almost any other marketing channel that you have. The reasons why are several fold. One is there's a lot of arbitrage opportunities. Even though it feels like everybody's doing influencer marketing, most people are not doing influencer marketing. Speaking from hearing folks and brands and agencies all the time, it's something that folks are still very much dipping their toes into. And so the more that you can lean into this when not everybody's there, the more opportunity that you can win. And so there's one of the main values there. The other is you get the benefit of aligning with somebody's trusted brand voice, which is going to provide higher conversion rates, as well as ultimately more trust in what they're saying, right? And so those associations and those relationships are positive. Now, if you partner with a creator that, says something more controversial, like there's the downside, a tremendous downside to that. But the upside is really, really, really high right now. And there's lots of opportunities to find really, really relevant creators. And even using a tool like ours to make it very, very narrow selections based off of the audience is really, really valuable. So think about that as you're beginning or you're trying to scale your initiatives, that the dividends here are just truly amazing because there's a lot of branding components, but very high direct response, conversion oriented value as well. That you don't always see when you're doing just traditional paid ads, which is what I started my career doing for years and years and years. One thing I wanted to call out as a brand, and we'll be inviting folks, go ahead and start asking questions if you have any questions. But as a brand, one thing I wanted to show is that we do, if you're a Hype Auditor subscriber, we do have landing pages, so very much commercially oriented landing pages where you can also solicit that information around follower count, let me get their handle. We can actually automatically take that handle and pull that account into your network so that you can quickly spot check these creators that are coming inbound. Are they a good fit or not? But this is something that's available in accounts. You can actually find it under the Discovery tab on the far right-hand side. Here's an example of just sort of the customization that you can do. Here is this sort of first step in the form, and then you can actually ask for more personal details, the type of content they produce, whatever it might be. And so landing pages, if you're thinking, hey, I'd love to go live with something, but my website is some WordPress website that's just really difficult to manage. It's all custom build, or it's just too much effort. We have something out of the box that you can leverage and be very much online with your brand. And that's it. So we ended our 3-part webinar series, 2 longer installments, and then this one a little bit shorter, focused more on inbound. But I wanted to open up for any questions for folks. While we're waiting for anybody to type in questions, just wanted to thank everybody for joining. Again, if you want to catch the webinar later or you want to share, we'll be sending the link out to watch the live stream or to watch the stream on YouTube, or you can sort of catch this again later. And then the coming weeks, we'll be adding more webinars around B2B, around e-commerce, and other content that folks might like to see. And since we're not getting any questions, I will take it as a testament to the fact that the content was just so detailed and concise. You guys had all the information that you needed. So I'm going to thank everybody again for joining me today. We're going to wrap it up now, but I'll be seeing you all soon.